Welcome to Uprising. Each episode looks inside what it takes to lead the most dynamic and successful cultural movements. Some of them in the business world, some in the social realm, some in politics, and some in between, to see why people start uprisings. What gives those initiatives momentum and keeps them going? And most important, what lessons can you learn from these movements and how to apply them to your business and even personal life? Let's explore the secret to sparking movements that move people into action.
Passionate ideas.
Controversial ideas.
Uprising ideas.
The power is now in the hands of anyone.
To start a cultural movement.
Your movement.
To move the world.
Hello, I'm Scott Goodson. Donald Trump made a decision to do something that is almost as old as the United States of America. He began the quest to become the president. It has been a campaign unlike anything we've seen before. He's psyched out his opponents. He's outwitted the GOP. He's ignited a massive movement of followers across the country that continues to gain steam, feeding off fears and insecurities. At last reckoning, he seems unstoppable. Donald Trump. Love him, hate him. What can we learn from him?
My name is Barbara Lippert, and I've been covering advertising and brands and media for more than 30 years, and that my specialty is interpreting brands.
Okay, Barbara, thank you for joining us. Some people call her an extremely wise commentator in marketing and advertising. She has written, blogged, and spoken about marketing for many years. She's legendary. If you Google Barbara Lippert, you can find extraordinary reviews and biting critiques about everything from marketing strategies to advertising campaigns to Super Bowl spots. She is obsessed about the thinking behind brands. I asked Barbara about the success of Donald Trump, the brand, and how he spread his movement across America. Okay, so how does Donald do it? I'm Scott Goodson, and you're listening to Uprising.
It's horribly scary, and he is, the perfect Hitlerian brand. I mean, he really did study Mein Kampf, apparently, and he really does know how to roil up a crowd and to, get to their most brutal, selfish interests and rile them up about it.
So you think his facial snarls or the way that he holds himself on the stage actually motivates people to love him more?
I'm not sure he could do any of this without all of the preparation he did. Giant black Mussolini-like buildings with giant gold Trump in gold letters. And then graduate to The Apprentice, where he was always seen as the god coming in on the Trump helicopter or speaking to his angels over the phone. So people really trust him and really think that he's even beyond a president. He's a god.
Do you think that god-like persona was created purposely?
With all of his books, with everything he does, it's all part of getting bigger and bigger to feed his ego and getting more and more important. So the ultimate, sort of macho important role he sees as being president of the United States.
If we break down how he's marketed himself over the last few months, are there specific tactics that he's taken that you just immediately say, oh wow, I can see why people follow him by the hundreds of thousands or millions?
One thing is that he definitely has transcended the screen in terms of, Obama's campaign was great, the first to be great on social media. What was considered great 8 years ago is laughable today. But Trump is the only one who can do more in a free tweet at 3 a.m. than an entire $2 million ad campaign. And he's the only one running who understands that. And he uses his tweets. His tweets are never nice. They're always to either, establish a grudge or make fun of someone or defend himself. It's not like he's putting a lot of articles about where he stands on taxes or healthcare out there. The way Apple uses the whole thing to reinforce the whole, every piece of design, every piece of the machinery reinforces that whole new clean thing. Every tweet, it reinforces, that Jeb is low energy or little Marco. He defines his enemies and he just keeps, keeps giving them blows wherever he can. And the tweets are very effective.
And is that basically a way for him to intimidate his opposition, or is it really a way for him to rally people behind him?
It's both. It's a way to, but not intimidate the opposition, but just make them angry and make them feel defensive. Put them on the defensive, put them on the ropes. And then the crowds start loving it and they start applauding, making fun of people in the most bullying, fifth grade way, so that it comes to these rallies he's having where they remove, the troublemakers, just like they did for Hitler's rally, where big security men wearing Trump shirts come and, and run the guy out of town. And then the rally stops for 5 minutes to say, USA, USA. And that's exactly the opposite of what the USA has meant to most people.
Don't all politicians use fear when they're trying to become elected?
They certainly do, but certainly none has the proficiency of a Trump. Really, whoever would dream that at a presidential debate someone would talk about the size of his manhood? And even little old ladies in the Midwest who would tut this think he's adorable.
He says things that insult women, but yet women, as you say, in the Midwest find him adorable. How does that work?
I think it's because they're so desperate to believe in someone, to believe that, they've won the lottery and that he's going to make everybody rich and that he's going to get them out of all of these problems. And I think it's because they were devoted Apprentice watchers. They think they know him from The Apprentice. And that's what's so dangerous about reality television, because it's completely scripted to make him look like, the king of all kings.
Is there a marketing campaign that you remember for a brand that resembles what Trump is doing?
It's like the evil, dark, fascist underbelly of Apple. Apple understood, Steve Jobs understood that every tiny bit of branding reinforces the whole, that it all should add up, that it all should communicate the same way. And Trump understands that too. Every tweet reinforces what he says on the stump. He never gets much deeper than answering a question except for using the same, sort of fifth grade vocabulary about making America great.
Is that intentional, do you think?
Very intentional.
Yeah. They say that great brands change the category. Do you think in the way he's acting, he's changing the political category?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's showing that the establishment Republican Party is completely broken, that they exist in some fictional world where, Mitt Romney can give a speech and knock down Trump. It's the same sort of rich country club white guy stuff. They keep claiming that they understand that they have to appeal to Latinos or they have to appeal to blacks. But it's the same stuff they know all over, doing the same thing all over. It sort of reminds me of advertising.
If you're a marketer, what do you take away from the success of Trump?
He is the classic strongman. He is the classic demagogue in that he knows how to relate to crowds and get to their emotional epicenters and rile people up, but there's nothing below that. I think the problem is in brands thinking they can get anything from him, because I think the future is, niche marketing where you're honest and you appeal to people out of, having something better, being honest, and, sort of breaking up what came before. And that's not what Donald Trump is doing.
But is it maybe like the ultimate celebrity marketing campaign? No one comes close to touching his star power. Therefore, whatever he says, whether it's creating fear or acting as a demagogue, people are going to love him anyway.
First of all, it's all about raising money, as Bernie said, for TV time. And all of that time in the past was spent on negative advertising, which was really kind of vicious, when you think about some of the terrible negative ads, like against Dukakis, the revolving door that showed a black man coming through and all of that. So terrible, vicious, negative advertising. And what people want with that is not that people will get, really excited about the candidate, rather that it will suppress the vote. It'll make people so depressed that they won't vote at all. So that is effective. Negative advertising is effective, but that's the outcome.
But do you think being controversial is a way of generating awareness today?
People just don't love products as much as the brands think they love products. So you are really playing Russian roulette with a brand if you try and develop a personality like that.
Have you watched any of his rallies on television? You really see these mass outpourings of feelings, and it's extraordinary.
It's like Jerry Springer meets wrestling meets Hitler.
But isn't Trump just really a brand that certain types of people are attracted to?
People just don't believe in brands and love brands the way they want someone to come and make them rich to bring, give them respect that they lost or give them a job. And it's true that he's this incredible 360-degree brand, but it's a little disingenuous to think that brands can learn anything from him.
In order for a movement to be super successful, you have to create a sense of urgency, and we talked about fear and enemies. Is that what he's doing?
Yes, he's a genius at that. The idea that maybe Mexicans, Muslim is immediately scary, so you don't have to say anything else. But Mexicans, to us, are not scary.
I don't think of them as scary.
Right. So he had to come up with something like rapists to keep it in our mind, to make them scary, to make us upset, because we had not been obsessing on Mexicans before he came to town. And it is true now that he brought up this whole issue that no one else was talking about it and made it his own and made it a national issue. So he really knows how to combine the fear and the ugliness with a really comic, lighthearted side. It's been part of his plan forever, and it works for him, and he just sees these building blocks, and he knows how, just like with all of his bankruptcies, he really knows how to use the courts, the average person, the press. He really has this mastery of all of those things.
But why do we feel the need to watch him?
Well, because he's doing this show that we've never seen before for the highest stakes. No one can believe that he would actually say that and then say that again and say that again, and that nobody, he's Teflon, he just keeps going. So we've never seen a phenomenon like this before. I mean, you can talk about people like Huey Long or, these other people in history, but they weren't, sort of a heartbeat away from the presidency. It really does look like he can win. I will say he's a branding genius who has nothing to teach honest products. You talk to anybody who has really done any research on him, they'll tell you that he embroiders stuff. The best you can say is that he exaggerates, and that, maybe 20% is exaggeration and the rest are lies. He has everything you don't want in a brand.
Thank you for joining our Uprising today and listening to our show. If you missed the show, or if you want to find out more about who was on, or if you want to learn more about how to create your own Uprising, please go to uprisingmovements.com. You can also download this Uprising program from iTunes. Uprising was produced by Nicola Keneally and Adam Helen, with special help from Melanie Boardman, Karin Drachenberg, Philippa Freeman, Brianna Campbell, Fashad Faroudi, Mark Bruzy, Will Issam, James Politi, and Jonathan Weeks. A special thank you to marketing journalist Barbara Lippert. My name is Scott Goodson, and you've been listening to Uprising. What we can learn about movements and uprisings that are shaping our world in business, in society, and in between. For more on cultural movements and movement marketing, be sure to pick up a copy of the best-selling book Uprising, How to Build a Brand and Change the World by Sparking Cultural Movements, available on Amazon.com. Music for Uprising composed by Charles Duchateau.